What is one thing I have wanted to understand for a long time but have never truly explored?
One thing you may have wanted to understand for a very long time, but perhaps never truly explored, is this. Who are you when everything you use to define yourself is stripped away? Not your job, not your achievements, not your relationships, not your failures, not even your dreams. Just you. It's an uncomfortable question because most of us spend our lives answering a different one. What do I do? Or what do people think of me? Rarely do we ask, who am I beneath all of that? Think about it for a moment. When someone asks you to introduce yourself, what do you usually say? Your name, your occupation, where you live. Perhaps that you're a parent, a spouse, an artist, a teacher, or an entrepreneur. Those are perfectly good descriptions, but are they really you? Or are they simply roles you've been playing? Imagine that tomorrow, every label disappeared. Your career was gone. Your social media accounts vanished. No one recognized your accomplishments. The possessions you've accumulated no longer belong to you. Would you still know who you are? Many people spend their entire lives avoiding this question because the roles feel safer than the reality. Roles give us certainty. Identity gives us something much more demanding: honesty. This is not a new question. Philosophers, spiritual teachers, psychologists, and poets have wrestled with it for thousands of years. The ancient Greeks encouraged people to know thyself. Eastern traditions often ask us to look beyond the ego. Modern psychology reminds us that many of our identities are constructed over time through family, culture, education, and experience. Yet, despite hearing these ideas, few of us actually stop long enough to investigate them. Why? Because life is noisy. There are bills to pay, messages to answer, deadlines to meet, goals to chase. We're constantly busy becoming something that we rarely examine who is doing the becoming. Imagine your life as a house. You've spent decades decorating it. You've painted the walls, bought furniture, collected awards, filled it with memories. But one day someone asks you, what is the foundation made of? You suddenly realize you've never looked beneath the floorboards. Most of us know the furniture of our lives better than the foundation. Now ask yourself another question. What beliefs about yourself have you simply accepted without questioning? Maybe somewhere along the way you decided, I'm not creative. I'm too old. I'm shy. I'm bad with money. I'm just an ordinary person. But who told you those things? Did you discover them through careful examination? Or did someone say them once when you were young? Perhaps a teacher, a parent, a classmate, a failed experience. And because it happened at the right, or perhaps the wrong moment, you carried that sentence with you for decades. Imagine carrying a backpack you've worn since childhood. At first, it was light. Then every disappointment added another stone. Every criticism added another. Every fear, every regret, every comparison. Eventually, the backpack became so heavy that you forgot what it felt like to walk without it. Now imagine setting it down for the first time. Who would you be without all those stories? Notice the wording, not without your experiences, without your stories about those experiences. There's a difference. Two people can go through the exact same hardship. One concludes, life is unfair. The other concludes, I'm stronger than I thought. The event was the same. The identity that emerged was different. This raises another fascinating question. How much of your personality is actually permanent? We often speak as though personality is carved into stone. I'm just this way. But science increasingly suggests that people can change far more than they expect. Habits change, beliefs change, values evolve, confidence grows, perspective expands. The person you are today is not the same person you were 10 years ago. In fact, if you met your younger self, you might disagree about many important things. So, why do we cling so tightly to old definitions? Perhaps because certainty feels safer than possibility. If you tell yourself, this is just who I am, you no longer have to face the uncertainty of becoming someone different. Growth is exciting, but growth is also uncomfortable. It asks you to let go of familiar versions of yourself. Consider a caterpillar. If it could think like a human, imagine what it might say inside the cocoon. I'm disappearing. I'm falling apart. I've lost myself. In reality, it isn't losing itself. It's becoming something it could never have imagined while crawling on leaves. Human beings often mistake transformation for destruction. The old identity begins to dissolve. We panic. But perhaps that's exactly what's supposed to happen. One of the most powerful exercises you can try is surprisingly simple. Ask yourself, what do I believe about myself? Write down every answer that comes to mind. Then, beside each one, ask, how do I know this is true? Not, is it familiar? Not, have I always believed it? But, is it actually true? You may discover that many of your strongest beliefs rest on surprisingly weak evidence. Another exercise. Imagine you're meeting yourself for the first time. No history, no assumptions, no labels. What would you notice? Your curiosity, your kindness, your resilience, your humor, your patience, or perhaps your willingness to keep trying despite uncertainty. Sometimes others see strengths in us long before we recognize them ourselves. Here's another thought. Perhaps the goal isn't to discover one fixed identity. Perhaps the goal is to become increasingly aware. Instead of asking, who am I? You might ask, who am I becoming? That question has movement. It has hope. It acknowledges that identity isn't a destination, but an ongoing conversation. Life keeps asking us new questions. Each season reveals another answer. The teenager you once were couldn't imagine who you'd become. The person you are today probably can't imagine who you'll be 10 years from now. And that's a beautiful thing, because it means your story is still being written. Curiosity plays an important role here. Children constantly ask why. Adults often stop asking because they assume they already know. But self-understanding requires the courage to become a beginner again. To admit, I don't fully understand myself. I may be wrong about who I think I am. There may be parts of me I've never explored. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Real growth begins not when we have all the answers, but when we ask better questions. So perhaps the one thing you've wanted to understand for a long time isn't success, or happiness, or purpose. Perhaps beneath all those desires lies a deeper longing to know yourself, not the version shaped by expectations, but the person beneath them. Because when you begin to understand yourself, something remarkable happens. Other people's opinions lose some of their power. Past failures lose some of their weight. Future fears lose some of their grip. You become less interested in proving yourself and more interested in discovering yourself. And that may be one of the greatest adventures a human being can undertake. So today, instead of rushing to the next task, the next achievement, or the next distraction, pause for a moment and ask yourself one simple question. If every label disappeared tomorrow, who would still remain? Don't answer too quickly. The most important questions in life rarely reveal their answers immediately. Sometimes they wait patiently, rewarding the person who is willing to keep exploring.